People of the internet! So I have a video pulled up here. Looks like it comes from Pearl Davis. Shout out to her. I usually see her. She's a content creator on these YouTube streets. She titles the video, 50% of women will be single and childless. Marriage is never returning. What does the future look like? Video was from some time ago. This is a narrative I usually hear as well too. I think there's even some studies or some predictions by some pretty knowledgeable people within this space who agree that the concept of marriage and childbearing for women seems to be decreasing as we move forward in our culture. Generations, millennials, Gen Zs are a little bit hesitant on the idea of starting families, mainly because of the fact that they can't afford it, majority of us. Just the financial burden that comes with having one or more children or getting married or whatever the case is, having that wedding, yada, 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 buying a house, seems to be more and more out of reach for a lot of younger generations. Shout out to her. Let's see a little bit of what she has to say, man, in terms of this matter.
So everyone knows the commonly cited Morgan Stanley study that half of women are going to be single and childless between the ages of 25 and 45 by 2030. Now, it's 2024, we're 6 years away, and we're already starting to see this, right? And I had somebody recently say to me that he just expects to be a single parent because that's the way the world is going. And even though this is kind of a gloomy outlook, I couldn't help but think he was right. And the reason that I couldn't help but think he was right is I'm already starting to see it. So let's say half of women don't marry, don't have kids, okay? What happens to the other half of the women? Let's say that, let's be generous here. Half of the women that have kids, let's say a third will be single mothers. I think we all could agree, on both sides, that's probably about true. Now, let's say the 2/3 get married. Now, we know that half will divorce, so then you take out that half. Now you have the third of the half, which is 15, 20%. Let's just say 20% of women. No, that's too high. Let's say 15% left that stay married. I mean, that's maybe 5-10% of people that are married. And it's really interesting because I'm going to keep seeing the cope, right? I'm going to keep seeing everybody say, return to traditionalism. And don't confuse this with being my hope. This isn't what I hope to happen.
Let me pause right there real quick because she's going in. Again, the video is titled 50% of women will be single and childless. She did drop a stat, which was a stat that I did hear. I think I did hear the narrative that by the year 2030, X amount of women are going to be single and childless. And of course, again, just the marriage rate will continue to decline. Again, we already know right now, this is, I think, fairly public information that the marriage rate right now, the divorce rate, I should say right now, is already 50%. I think it's always been 50% for some time, which is fairly kind of fair to say. I don't know if that number has maybe changed. But 50% of marriages are either going to work, 50% of marriages end in divorce over X amount of time. What does that mean for the future moving forward? Honestly, folks, I'm going to honestly say that it is a bit scary out here. Not going to lie. I do believe that it's going to be a continuous downward trend in terms of the willingness of people to take on a marriage, and a marriage that's actually going to last, right? That's not going to end in divorce, along with having one or more children. I'm not saying that this isn't happening at all. I do have colleagues, peers, getting married, have been engaged, this and the other. Congratulations to them. But in terms of just the outward trajectory, right? If we were just to predict, if we were all to just kind of stop right now and just kind of see where the world is going right now in terms of, again, all factors included, cost of living, lack of jobs, people with, credentials, but not the, the availability of jobs that fit those credentials, things of that nature. Childcare, healthcare, All just the things that are happening in this world. And then, of course, you take on this political climate that we're in right now in terms of people predicting, of course, this is going to be the most make or break political presidential run, of course, at the end of this year, of course, 2024. And what that, what contribution that might have into this whole conversation, this demographic. Honestly, folks, in my personal opinion, from where I'm sitting, I do believe that it will continue to be a downward trend. I think for my generation, of course, us millennials, shout out to the millennials and Gen Z behind us. For a lot of us, it's not realistic. It's not even affordable. It's not something that is at the forefront of our thoughts because a lot of us just can't even afford it. Not everyone, of course, there's people that are doing well for themselves. Shout out to them. Even I would even argue doing decently well for myself, but that's just as a single man. I haven't even taken into consideration joining forces with somebody, bringing children, getting the house, whatever the case is. It does seem to be something that is unrealistic for a lot of my generation. So then you ask yourself, well, what does society look like if we continue at this rate? If women are not getting married and women are not having children, what does the society look like over X amount of years if this is the trend? There will be a lot of isolation. There will be a lot of singleness, right? There will be a lot of fatherless children. There will be a lot of maybe abstinence as well, too. People, vasectomies and blah, 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 this and the other. I think that if we continue at the rate in which we are going, in terms of women just maybe not even having the interest, what was it? I think I did a video of the 5B movement that's starting out in, I think, North Korea or South Korea, where women are, making conscious decisions to not embark in any type of interaction with men. What happens to a society that embraces that mindset? Embraces that way of life? Everybody's just throwing up, both men and women throwing up their arms. I don't want to have kids. I don't want to get married. I will continue on monk mode. Did a video on monk mode as well, too. I just want to be alone. What happens to a society in the long run? What happens to a population? Is this by design? Of course, I speak on this as well, too, on my channel. How I am under the belief that there is an agenda. It's called the depopulation agenda, depopulation theory, in which people believe that there are forces out there that want to see to it that we lower the carbon footprint and lower the amount of humans that are on this planet because it's just way too much in terms of the usage of resources, food. I think there's always going to be land on the world, but is it by design? Are we being socially engineered to care less and less about marriage and children? Who knows? That's just my thoughts. Again, shout out to Pearl. I didn't want her to go off on a tangent. That's why I kind of just stopped there. Usually with a lot of these videos, I at least, like to at least just take the topic, share my thoughts, and kind of go from there. Maybe let them share their thoughts a little bit as well, too. But again, 50% of women will be single and childless by the year 2030. Is a scary prediction if you think about it, because again, we're already at 2024. 2024 is pretty much already done. We got 2025 in next few months, whatever. So to say that this is going to be the case in the next 5 years is a scary thought if you think about it long term. But that's just my thoughts. I'd like to hear yours down in the comment section, folks. What do you make of this? Do these numbers, does this idea startle you? Do you agree that seems to be the trend, that there's a downward trend of women caring to have children, or just couple, both men and women, caring to get married? Are the traditional values no longer at top priority or top concern or a practice that this new generation cares to uphold? Again, being a member of the millennials and being familiar with members of Gen Z, the narrative that I usually hear is that a lot of us can't really afford it. It's unrealistic, whether it's student loan debt, whether it's, our outlook on the world and how it just looks grim. We've been a lot. My generation has been through a lot. We've survived a lot so far. So maybe just even from a philosophical standpoint, maybe, my generation is more prone to embracing this nihilistic outlook on the world in terms of just saying, what's the point? What's the point? Why bother? That's my thoughts, folks. I want to hear yours down in the comment section below. As always, the likes, the comments, the subscribes are all greatly appreciated. I will catch you on the next one.